So imagine this. Imagine me stepping down that stage right now. I'm a journalist, holding a microphone, going through the rows, and stopping right in front of you and asking you, what are you currently working on? Or you? Just take a time, take a moment to think. Would your answer come from your head or would it come from your heart? So I'm Nestlen, I'm a science journalist, and I've been working in science journalism now for more or less 10 years. And I know that feeling, that microphone in front of you, or that little red light that flickers, that on-air sign, or that step on stage even, triggers. It's a little bit of panic, isn't it? It feels like a test in that moment. In that moment, somebody appears inside of us. That little imposter syndrome, whispering, you sure you're the right one now? Do you feel competent? Oh my God, did you hear how you sound? How your voice sounds? Yeah, that little imposter syndrome panics as well. And we grab the first solution that comes to our minds to that nagging feeling of panic and that criticism inside of us. It must be perfection. We believe that in order to earn the approval of our audience, we have to be perfect. No slips, no pauses, no moments. But I say that is a trap. So let's silence that imposter syndrome for a minute and let's see what we can do. Maybe many of you know that feeling as well, that little moment of panic, that I don't know what to say. It's going to be recorded. And I want to show you what helped me finding my voice, finding my more or less confident voice. It's a path. And what may help you finding that voice as well. Because I think the voice that we all need to find, or we can find, is not a voice that is perfect, but a voice that is real and offers connection. A voice that listens to the heart before it starts to think too much, and a voice that connects instead of controls. So let's start at the beginning of my career. It took me quite some time to align my inner self, my personality, with my stage personality, the one that spoke publicly. And I remember my first time on the radio. There was a host and I would be a person like giving some answers. And of course, I wanted it to be perfect because the small imposter inside of me was with me. So I wrote a script. I had it all written out, front to back. And we went into the studio, the microphone went on, the red light, and I started to talk. Well, I started to read as well, because of course I had it written out, like I wanted to say it. And we already know him, that little imposter syndrome, voila, inside of me appeared again. And it said, oh my God, what are you saying? It sounded way more professionally written out. Yeah, the wording was better. Oh my God, did I just hear a eh? Yeah, I got totally tangled in my thoughts. I stumbled upon my words, and in the end, I lost my thread completely. And after that, honestly, I didn't feel much like continuing. But I was so thankful that I had some really nice colleagues who took me by the hand, and they taught me something. That the striving for some sort of perfection silences me, and allowing myself some imperfection makes me heard. So I threw my scripts away in the bin, and I started talking directly to my audience, like to you now. And what's a crucial thing is to think about what does the audience need or want, or what is really valuable to you now as well. Of course, facts are very valuable. But on the other hand, what is even more valuable when listening to a person is the ability to understand, to connect with somebody, and to maybe even get an impulse out of it. And speaking of that impulse, not too long ago, I was asked to give a big speech, a speech at a demonstration. And I was sitting down, and I thought to myself, okay, Julia, many people are going to hear this. Prepare yourself. Again, I wrote a script, of course. And after that, I gave the script to a friend of mine, and he read it. And he said, Julia, it's Nicholas, a friend of mine. And he said, okay, great facts, great statements of other people that were really well discussed, but I don't see you in that script. What are your thoughts on it? What do you really feel? And I felt exposed, because of course he was right. I sort of had crafted an armor around me, or the little imposter syndrome inside of me had crafted an armor around me this time, dealing with the panic of many people listening to me, maybe criticize me. And that armor was built out of these facts and well-proven arguments, and it was sort of made of Teflon. You know, the Teflon that makes pans non-sticky? Yeah, that armor out of facts would criticism not make stick. But honestly, connection wouldn't stick either. So I tried to let down that armor. It really felt uncomfortable, but I dared to share my own thoughts, my own perspective on the topic, and some views to the future and perspectives, even if they were just sort of, well-educated guesses. I felt a bit insecure, and honestly, I really expected some backlash because of this huge audience. And I held my speech. I was really nervous. And afterwards, I was so surprised because all these parts I was so unsure about were the parts that total strangers came up to me afterwards for and said, well, I really connected to that. That really sticked with me. So that can teach us another thing, that these small moments of intellectual vulnerability, where we allow ourselves to think beyond, to ask ourselves, what is our feeling to it? What can we maybe, as young scientists, dare to say based on our expectation that goes beyond the findings we have, to give a perspective of the whole thing? I think that is so unique, and especially in a time where AI, we already heard it, can sort of write everything, can write perfect summaries of science, can write TED Talks, can write speeches. Your thoughts and your unique perspective can't be replicated. And it shows that your voice and your thoughts are human, and that humanness offers connection. And let's talk about that humanness for another second, because that humanness, or authenticity, we can call it as well, may appear in really small moments. You remember that imposter syndrome standing beside of me while being on the radio, saying, did I hear that sound? Yeah, let's talk about the or for a minute. I once did a long interview with a very well-known scientist. It was a recorded audio. And afterwards, I edited it, and I realized he used a lot of s. And of course, I didn't want him to sound unprofessional. I cut them all out. And in the end, I re-listened to that audio, and it sounded kind of weird because of two things. Firstly, I altered his way of speaking way too much. And secondly, it sounded sort of robotic. So I thought to myself, okay, I really need to get the hang of it. And I listened to other interviews of really well-known, highly paid speakers, and I realized nothing. I didn't hear any else. But then after a while, I listened to it on sort of a meta-wise, and I really tried, where's the and I realized every speaker uses else from time to time. Doesn't matter how long they do the job, doesn't matter how well they are paid. But the point is, I didn't notice it. And then I looked into some research, and there is actually research on that. And it says up to more or less 3 to 4 as per minute aren't even noticed by your audience, for real. Like, everybody does it. It's just part of your natural voice. And there's another thing to it. These small pauses, or as, even help us listeners understand complex thoughts. So I'd say, let's not listen to that imposter syndrome inside of us nagging about maybe us saying too much, because that little s help you to think, buy you time to think, and buy your audience time to follow your thoughts. And that's another thing that makes our speak even more human and our voice more human and offers some connection. Because understanding is a form of connection, is so valuable. Another thing how we can speak offering understandment and connection is, well, I've got an example. Some researchers, they often present their findings like this. Okay, so material testing was conducted, resulting in data collection on the compressive strength of building materials, with the finding that further research is needed. That's a perfectly objective sentence. But is it understandable and relatable? I'd say not that much. So here's a way how to rephrase it, maybe. If you imagine the researcher saying, okay, so we had different building materials, concrete blocks, and we used different compounds. Of course, we had to test them. We sent them into sort of a race, each one of them with their own quirks and strengths and weaknesses and vulnerabilities. And we wanted to say how much they could handle. And of course, as in every testing, we pushed them way past their limits. And in the end, one of the blocks really surprised us because he could handle way much more than expected. Unfortunately, we don't know why yet. We can't ask him. See what happened? First, we had a we the scientists. We did something. And we sort of felt some empathy maybe for a block even. So we had a protagonist. We even had two protagonists. And what's this whole thing about? It's storytelling. It's really nothing new. But I think storytelling really could have such a big impact as well if scientists dare to use it more often. And many people might say, oh, that's something that we should really leave to the children's programs on the TV. But honestly, I think every adult is so thankful if we offer just a small story to understand something that is so foreign to us, even if we don't want to admit it. So let's see how this way of using your voice, phrasing your sentences, and speaking to people can also change how you yourself might feel as a young scientist. I dated a scientist once. He was a pharmacist, and he worked on the blood-brain barrier. No worries, if you don't know what it is, you'll understand in a minute. And we sat down in a cafe, and of course we started talking about work. And he explained to me what he does. But after some minutes, I sort of got lost. I did not really understand. I tried to ask some questions, but somehow we were not communicating. And then he asked me, okay, Julia, what should I do? I don't really know. And then I remembered one of the tricks one of my colleagues from the beginning, who offered me a hand after my bad experience in the radio, said to me, okay, Julia, throw a script away and just imagine how you would explain it to a child or to your drunk flatmate at 5 a.m. So I told him, maybe try it. And then he paused for a minute, and afterwards he came up with this story, and I really love it. He said, okay, imagine your brain is a nightclub, and the blood-brain barrier is the bouncer. The point is, not everybody gets in our brain club. Only the people dressed right. And my science is about how do we dress the drug to get it past the bouncer. And I totally understood. And I was able to ask some questions because now I had some protagonists, some words I could ask questions about. And it was so nice because energy started flowing back and forth. And that enthusiasm that he had for his research really got unlocked. And we had so many questions and so many answers, and we ended talking for some hours. And what can teach us this situation is that people don't just listen to facts, they also mainly listen to energy or enthusiasm. And that enthusiasm can be really contagious. There's also research on that. For example, teachers who speak and teach with enthusiasm can even have a real good impact on the memory of the students and also on their motivation. So I like the picture that we are all small marbles rolling around a table that is life. And you push one, and it might change another's path. And you move one with a thought of you or your voice, and it might inspire another one. And that's what I would like you to go away from with this talk. I dare you, use your own voice. Dare your own perspective to be heard. Use your quirky voice, your nerdiness, your enthusiasm for everything. And even if there are some uhs inside of it, most of the time we won't even hear it. Speak so clearly that even your drunk flatmate at 5 a.m. will understand it. And use your passionate voice and your real voice, the one with empathy, the one that connects, to pass your spark on beyond horizons. Thank you.